Hey everybody, welcome to the garden. I hope you're having a great day. Shout out to the lemon and lime lovers and everybody in between. It's time for a crypto highlight video. And if you're interested in any of the services I provide, please check out the links in the description below for both the Patreon and Discord. Okay guys, so we're going to be looking at a KDA, and I'm going to be using the Binance chart. This was recommended for me to look at via the crypto highlight recommendation room. In case you do want to recommend assets for me to look at, you have to become a member of one of my services. Make sure to check out the Patreon link and find out which service may suit you best. Okay, so KDA on the monthly, really not that much information. What we can see though is we've obviously had some major drops over these last couple months. It's a very young asset, but we are showing some potential signs of slowing down here, but it's still too early to tell. Let's go down to the weekly, see if we can see anything there. Not much info here, but look at this. We do have this trend line here to the downside, so this descending trend line here, and we're going to keep this a black trend line so we know it's off of the weekly time frame. This looks good to be our barometer of the descending trend pattern we may be in. If we're going to hold steady and maybe potentially create a more bullish structure on the longer term, we should see this trend line hold. If we do start seeing this trend line break, look for another major leg down, a continuation to new all-time lows. Now let's go down to the daily time frame, see if there's anything more, any more information there. So daily is pretty interesting. I mean, clearly we've had this breakdown we saw in the monthly, and now we are slowing down on the drop, as you can see. Remember what I always say, guys, break the charts down into simplicity, make it a little easier for you to understand what kind of market you're in. Charts do one of three things. They're either going up, they're either going down, or they're going sideways, right? So it's one of these three structures. Now you may get different variations of sideways action, so bullish, bearish consolidations. You know, in the end, it's still a ranging structure. So recognize what you're in, and then once you break that structure, watch to see which direction you're going, okay? Because it's going to be one of the three, up, down, or sideways. Now, we're seeing we're in somewhat of a sideways structure. Looks more like a triangle structure, maybe a descending wedge even. Take a look at this. So we have a trend line from here. Let's see if I can actually put this on the chart correctly here. 1 second. There we go. Okay. So from here to here, okay, we'll make this blue so we know it's off the daily time frame. And we even have a shorter term descending trend line we can use as an early signal of a potential change of character, this one to this one here, okay? And I actually like the price action we're seeing here. Potential bullish bias here. Very, very nice to see. We had a pretty aggressive drop, came in to really create this descending trend line here on the weekly time frame, had a nice rise from there, and now the price action that's veering down is, in my opinion, showing potential signs of a bullish character. Okay, so you're potentially seeing a bullish character here, and if we can get that impulse, the bids to break through this descending trend line, so this very steep descending trend line, it should give us early warning that we're likely going to not just come and test this descending trend line from this high pivot to this high pivot, but actually break it, and this may lead to a change of character. Okay, so this may change from being a slow drop to actually a bottoming structure over a period of time. So almost like a rounding structure. So you see we dropped here, and now we start this. So we start this sort of structure, and then we break up and start making a rounding bottom. So you see how this kind of looks like a rounding structure? This is usually what happens when you go into a longer term accumulation that eventually turns bullish, and then you get into a new cycle. So sort of like this. I know it's not very clean looking, but hopefully it makes sense. This looks like the beginnings, potentially, of a bottoming structure, a very large rounding bottom. Okay, so we're in like a descending wedge structure here on the daily, and using the weekly level here, this descending trend line, that may end up leading to a nice pop-up. But again, the pop-up is just building out, most likely, a larger bottoming structure of some sort. Could be a rounding bottom, could be something that's going to be an accumulation for months, maybe even longer. But if it were to break, so if this is the descending wedge structure that I'm seeing, how can we measure the move that may come from it? Well, go from the high of this wedge to the low, so right here to here, okay, and go from where potentially would break out from. So let's say it broke out next week or something, or the week after. So somewhere around here, you're looking to come up towards this imbalance here, and this is a great target area. And look at the confluence here. We have these bearish fair value gap zones right here. So if we get this break up relatively soon, you're looking at price getting towards this imbalance, and maybe even coming up to actually test this fair value gap level and making another high, lower high from this high, but taking out these lower highs and creating a new potential new change of character. So I'm actually pretty bullish on KDA, but what I will say is look for potential more downside while you're in this structure, but this should be bullish accumulation. And the way you can see if this is going to get invalidated, don't use this low, because if you're in the descending wedge, well, guess what? You're descending in price action. So if you're going to stay in this wedge structure, then you're just automatically going to start breaking this low. You want to look for a defined break of the structure. And so what I mean by that is, let's say we come down and then come up and then we just break through. We decisively break through. That's when you know this structure is not valid, it's failed, and you're likely going to come lower. Now, it could still do something like this and then break down. Okay, so the reason why I'm trying to highlight this being a possibility is because if this does happen, the drop can be fairly violent. So be very careful if you're looking to actually put money into this, because if it does go the other way and you're looking to long, it can be pretty violent. So like I always say, have control over your position sizing, know your risk, don't go 100% into something. I never recommend that, so hopefully you don't do that. And always remember that when you take these positions, no matter what I show you, it's all probabilities in the end. There will be times where no matter how high the probabilities of success for the structure to play out, there will be times where it doesn't play out. All right, so you have to assume every time you go into a trade, these are one of those times where it won't play out. That'll save you a ton of money in the future. But if it does play out, that's great. If it doesn't, it's better to be prepared for it not playing out rather than hoping it does. Okay, so for KDA, I'm pretty bullish on it. You know, it may take some time, but as long as we're in this structure and we don't have a trending move down breaking the structure, you know, coming down sub 50 cents, sub 40, 30 cents, and then sub, 20 cents. I think this looks pretty solid, and we should see a break up. But again, like I just said, make sure you have your risk under control. All right, well, that's it for KDA. I'm not really seeing anything else. You know, it's a very young chart. There's not really much else here I can get from it. We do have an ascending trend line here that could play a role on the break up if we do break up. So this ascending trend line from here to here, let me pop it right there. So this ascending trend line can end up playing a role. So you have a couple ways to view this. If this ascending trend line plays a role in the future, it's going to be from when you change character and start coming up to tap it. And that's going to be a significant jump up because this is an ascending trend line. It's going to be going up into the future. So the price to get to this trend line will increase naturally over time. So I won't keep this on the chart, but I would look for this trend line to actually play a role into the far future if you start breaking this structure and then actually playing out a new trend to the upside. Okay, all right, everyone, that is it for this crypto highlight video. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found the content to be informative. If you did, make sure to give me a like, subscribe, maybe a share or two. Definitely leave a comment for me. Let me know if you agree, disagree with my analysis, and why. I would love to learn why you think I'm wrong or right. And if you haven't joined that Discord, make sure to join the Discord. You'll find the link in the description below. And if you'd like to learn how to trade like I do, or you want to trade with me on a daily basis, or you just want some call outs, well, make sure to check out my Patreon, because I have 3 different services. Each one of those do what I just said. Definitely check them out. And I have them reasonably priced. At least I think so. All right, everyone. Remember, be patient, be vigilant, and be nimble. I love you guys. Take care. Bye.